Looking for ideas on how you can take boutique fitness formula and insert it into your big box gym? Kory Angelin delivers some amazing content in this episode on lessons big box gyms can learn from boutiques when it comes to creating community, social media engagement, and member retention. You can find all this good stuff this week on the Fitness Business Podcast. Hello, friends. Have we met on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn yet? If not, then let's set a date to meet. I invite you to connect with us on your favorite social media platform. There, you will find out additional information about upcoming episodes, our industry experts, and even fun facts about your favorite FBP hosts. So please follow along at Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Fitness Business Podcast family, welcome. I am your host, Dory Nugent, and today our guest, Kory Angelin, will share his thoughts on what big box gyms can learn from boutiques. Kory is the Chief Operating Officer for VoloFit by Tough Mudder. He's an award-winning fitness expert, and he's an author not once, but twice. We will hear from Kory in less than 2 minutes. First, a huge thank you to Tribe Team Training for supporting our show.
Are you interested in increasing your center's income and your trainer's income from small group training? Tribe Team Training is the new way to get more members engaged in small group training and paying extra. Click the Tribe Team Training link in the show notes or go to tribeteamtraining.com.au/podcast for your free formula to see how much income you can make from small group training.
Thank you, Tribe Team Training. Make sure you check out www.tribeteamtraining.com.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
What are your top 3 tips to create boutique experiences in big box gyms?
Great. So number 1 is to have 3 hours a week to coach and role play with your staff on selling value versus price. And so role playing what that looks like, asking some questions, arming them with some questions that they can ask where they're not just talking about what they have to sell, what their product, how amazing it is. We get it, but more along the lines of why would a customer care in the first place? So what's their goal? Why is it their goal? So arming them with that information. So that's number 1. I would say number 2, setting up your Instagram. Absolutely. If you're in a big box gym, you need a gym Instagram. It might be a corporate Instagram, but start figuring out how you could put up some organic content, which leads me to number 3, get your coaches social media savvy. Most coaches are, most trainers are, they want to film stuff, right? So give them the necessary tools and empower them to do so, because that's what people are doing now. They're logging on to social and looking at you first. They'll look at your website 3rd and 4th down the line.
Boy, do I have a special guest for you all next week. I interview industry veteran Doris Fuse as she talks about surviving and thriving in the ever-changing fitness industry. After this week's full interview, I'll introduce you to Doris, and you'll hear why you won't want to miss this legendary guest.
At Discover Strength Franchising, we know you want to own a thriving fitness business. We believe you should be able to do work that you are passionate about while also making a great living. Imagine owning a distinguished fitness business backed by a market-tested business model where efficient 30-minute strength workouts are provided to your clients by expert, educated personal trainers. Here's how to get started. Head to discoverstrengthfranchise.com and fill out the contact form. Set up a pre-qualification call with our franchise team. Join us for a mutual discovery day. So head to discoverstrengthfranchise.com so you can start falling in love with your work again.
Let's transition into this week's interview with Kory Angelin. I'd like to welcome Kory Angelin to today's episode on the Fitness Business Podcast. Kory is the Chief Operating Director of VoloFit by Tough Mudder. He's also an author and he is an award-winning fitness expert. Kory, thank you so much for joining us today.
Dory, I am pumped up, just like Schwarzenegger says, and I'm going to pump everyone up when they listen to this episode.
Well, we love to be pumped up here at the podcast.
Love it.
Especially while everybody's driving in their car and listening to this episode. And we have you here today. You're going to talk a little bit about what big box gyms can learn from boutique gyms. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. And let's get started. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So my first question is, why do you think there has been a boutique fitness boom the past few years?
Fantastic question. And I think you need to figure out why people leave big box over the last, I would say, several years. And it's not necessarily leaving big box. I mean, there are plenty of people that continue to, just like myself, have a big box membership, but also go to big box. So it's not go to boutique fitness. So I always come back to two reasons why people do that. Number one, a lack of motivation, and number two, a lack of results. And so what I mean by that, to try to drive that point across, is no one, Dory, in my life has ever come up to me and said, Kory, I've gotten amazing results at my big box gym. I am so motivated, but I'm just going to leave because it's not the place for me, right? And so it just doesn't happen, because if you were getting those two things, you really wouldn't leave. And so what I think boutique has done in the last several years is fill that void, specifically with millennials and Gen Zers, for a variety of reasons, but specifically to kind of build more of a community feel. So I think that's two primary reasons why you see that shift from big box to boutique.
Yeah, and there's no doubt the boutiques, I think they win the award on community feel. I know big box gyms, a lot of them do a really nice job trying to create that, but the word big is still in there. And sometimes you do happen to lose that feel, even though I know they desperately tried. And like I said, many do a great job. I'd really like to ask you, do you feel that the pandemic has made any impact on the popularity of boutique gyms?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've been battle tested throughout, like many have, overseeing many boutique studios, specifically last year. And I could tell you what boutique has done and what they're able to do during the pandemic and even post-pandemic is, if you think about boutique fitness, it's a lot more scalable, right? You have less square footage, you have less members. And so you're able to do a lot more, be creative in a variety of ways, one of which is creating an at-home solution, right? If you're closed at some particular time last year, we were able to scale that pretty easily. And two, it's a lot more of a community feel. So if you think about boutique, again, this isn't anything that you probably haven't heard of before, but everyone in a boutique studio knows each other. They know the coaches there, they know the managers there, they know the members there. And so you can really create that community feel. And so even with an at-home digital solution, what boutiques did was you were able to train with your coach that you normally train with, albeit digitally, whether it's live streaming on Facebook or whatever the case may be. So big box was challenged with that. And so you can't be as personal in that space. And so I think the pandemic, actually, we saw not terrible retention or attrition numbers. We actually saw about 60 to 70% of the members continuing to pay their memberships. And I would say currently we're at about 97%, at least at VoloFit, of members returning. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with a lot of points there, but I really would like to now transition into talking about social media with big box versus boutiques. It just seems as if the boutiques hit it out of the park with social media. Could you just expand a little bit on that for us?
Oh, sure. How much time do we have, Dory? Because this is a great one. This is something I've been talking about for years. I like to think I'm pretty savvy on social myself. But really what boutique is it's a community feel. And so there's a synergistic relationship between that and social media, because social, when done correctly, is that community feel. You want to be part of something, right? Sometimes we're way into social, but as it relates to the fitness industry and boutique fitness, specifically, I'll talk about two platforms. Number one, Instagram, right? You can't talk about social media, whether it's advertising or posting or boosting. if it wasn't for Instagram. So specifically, what do we do well, or what do I think boutique does well? I would say there's 3 or 4 points specifically on Instagram. Number one, what I call the 80-20 rule. So I teach a lot about to owners of boutique studios and general managers and coaches, the 80-20 rule. 80% of your content in boutique should be organic. 20% is stock, right? Stock photos, stock videos. The problem with that is we have this mindset, it's usually flipped. Most of the time, we're under the notion that we want to post really pretty professional content, when in fact, that doesn't really drive a lot of engagement or leads for that matter. So it's a lot easier to do organic content in boutique because anyone that's watching that's part of that studio knows who's actually posting it, right? And that's a big shift in mindset from what Big Box needs to understand. Granted, Big Box is a lot bigger scale, and so it's harder to drive that community feel. But that's number one. I think number two is the use of captions, which sounds kind of corny, but what most people don't understand, whether you're in boutique or Big Box, is that 75% of the people that scroll through social media like Instagram have their phones on mute. And so just by attaching captions to a video post, for example, you'll get 85% more engagement. And so boutique, you'll notice, does that really well. I would say third, the call to actions are really interesting. When you post something on Instagram, you need to post a sense of urgency. Boutique does this all the time. So instead of saying, click on the link to register for a free trial, a lot of boutique studios will say, hey, for the next 10 people that click and register, we'll give you 50% off a heart rate monitor. And then lastly, boutique studios, what they do really well when it comes to social is a link tree. Having a link tree on their studio site. Because a link tree, you're able to provide a lot of call to actions, a lot of links on there, whereas most big box gyms just have a website link. Like, I don't need to go to your Instagram to get to your website. I could just Google your website, right? And so I think Big Boutique has perfected what Instagram is today in terms of engaging people. And then lastly, I think YouTube. YouTube, Dory, that is the future as far as I'm concerned. I've been talking about it for a year, but every fitness influencer has a YouTube channel. What I find interesting is big box gyms don't have a YouTube channel. And so what you'll find is a lot more boutiques will use a YouTube channel to drive more long formatted video content, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And so I think that's where the future is. But in essence, that's ultimately where I think boutique has really elevated themselves when it comes to social media.
Absolutely agree. And it's funny you talk about YouTube, and I'm just on that age cusp of, I don't tend to go to YouTube a lot, but it's funny because I'll ask my kids when they're sitting on the couch, hey, what are you listening to? What are you looking at? And they're like, oh, I'm watching a YouTube video or I'm watching a movie on YouTube. They spend way more time on YouTube than I do.
Second largest search engine in the world, and yet no big box gyms use it to their advantage.
Yeah, interesting. Because I am from a big box gym, and you're right. We want everything pushed back to our website, push to the website. And you're right. You really can just Google the website. No,
you're so right. And just bringing it back to the first point I made when we talk about organic stuff, I think most people shy away from YouTube because they think they need a $1,000 microphone and this entire set, when you don't. When I started my YouTube channel years ago, I was like, everything had to be filmed professionally. And I'm like looking at some people that I admire on YouTube that do similar things that I do, and they're literally holding their phone in front of them, videoing themselves. So again, it's shift in mindset. It does not have to be professionally done. Just use it to engage people.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the biggest lessons that big box gyms have learned from boutique studios, and maybe some examples of things they've pulled into the big box gyms have pulled into their 4 walls?
Yeah, I would say there's 3 that come to mind because number one, you do see now more boutique type spaces in big box. I was just in Arizona. I went to a big box gym, and within the gym, you have your group fitness room and stuff like that. But there was like a separate room, closed off, glass walls, different lighting, different sound system, functional training area. It's like walking into a boutique studio. And so obviously big box recognizes that. I think what some of the things that they learn though, one is the tour. This is something that drives me up the wall, Dory. And I'm sure you're pretty familiar over the years, just being a big box member. The days of the tour are over. And what I mean by that is, how many times, Dory, have you been to a new big box gym and they gave you a tour, or as I like to call it, a museum tour, right? Where they just walk you around showing you every space available, which I get the mindset of why you do that and the philosophy. But if you think about it, Dory, most people that work out in a big box gym uses maybe 2, maybe 3 areas, right? So for me, it's the weight training area and the cardio area. For you, it might be the group fitness area and the strength area, right? I don't want to see 19 different places. And so I remember almost every single museum tour I've ever been given. It kind of goes like this. Here's the pool. Kory, are you interested in swimming? No. Here's the daycare. Do you have kids? No. Just show me what I want to see. And so what I think they've adapted now is just taking people to what they want to see. Meet them in the middle, right? And so, my time at 24 Hour Fitness many years ago as a director, I vividly remember being flown into California to come up with their onboarding experience. And I remember asking one of the directors, what do you currently do now? Well, we show them everything. Great. So we made one shift in mindset. We went from that to when someone comes in for the first time, I would simply say, so Dory, what one area of the gym do you want to see first? And by their answer that you now are empowering the customer, right? Because at the end of the day, I think that leads into just overall experience. And something I know you're passionate about, Dory, I always make this analogy when we talk about that experience and what big box is trying to adapt from boutique. And that's one small part is the tour, which is Starbucks. And I know you're a big lover of Starbucks. Am I correct there?
I am a very big lover of Starbucks. I love my $7 drink.
I love it. And so the story I always tell Dory about Starbucks is a pretty simple one. Every single day, no matter where I'm at, I go to Starbucks twice a day and I spend $2.75 on a cup of coffee. The ironic part to that story, though, Dory, is I don't like the coffee. And so most people go, well, Kory, why do you go there? I mean, I don't dislike the coffee, but it's not my favorite. And so I go, it's not about the coffee. It's about the experience. If you think about the experience that I get, and probably you get, Dory, at a Starbucks, it's pretty insanely profound. You walk in, you see people sitting down, but they're doing stuff. They're doing stuff like they're on social media. They're writing term papers on their laptop. Sometimes you meet there for a job interview. Sometimes you meet there on a date. But it's nothing more than a coffee shop. You then get online and you speak what I think is Italian and or Spanish, 2 of languages of which I've never spoken before, Dory, because I say things like venti macchiato or grande pike. We even call the employees there baristas. We don't call them employees. That to me is an unbelievable experience. So the tour, I think, is something that sort of is that analogy to how you can really tailor the experience when you first get a new customer in to try and sell them a membership.
Yeah. And I just want to rewind just a minute. You talked about some of the big box clubs doing a really nice job at bringing boutique inside of their building. And I have to say, Newtown Athletic Club up in Pennsylvania, they redesigned their whole group fitness area to do precisely that. And they did such a fantastic job with that. So hats off to them. But
yeah, no, that's great. And you're spot on with that. And you're seeing it more and more.
You are seeing it more and more. And they have to, if they want to compete, they absolutely have to. And then on to the Starbucks point is, and, we talked a little bit before we started recording this episode, is I said, it doesn't matter for me. I know it's $7. And, it's funny, my mom cannot believe that I spend $7 on a drink. But it doesn't matter whether I get my drink in Florida, if I get my drink over in London, if I get my drink in California, it always tastes the same. Consistency for me is worth every single dollar. You are speaking my language. We're going to have to share a Starbucks on me next time I see you. And by the way, to that point, when you talk about I always say Starbucks is something like what great brands do differently, right? Because I do consider Starbucks a great brand, but Disney is the same way. It's $175 to walk into Disney World for one day. And you know what? It's the happiest place on earth. It might not feel like it when you're waiting on a 3-hour line, but you tell that to a kid and a kid is in love with it. Apple's the same way, right? I'm an Apple guy.
not because Apple's the best phone in the world, right? But I love that I'm part of the Apple community. So yeah, spot on with that.
Yeah. And I like that you talked about the sales process, about absolutely, it's funny. I think it's a little bit of a generational thing, as working in sales in a big box gym for many, many years. The seniors always wanted to see every nook and cranny of the gym. The younger generation is like, they just didn't have time for that. They were, like you said, show me the weights, show me the yoga studio, whatever they were into. They didn't want to walk around. But the seniors, every time they came in, they wanted like the 20-minute tour. Even if they weren't going to use the room, they wanted to see it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a cliche, and you've probably heard it before, but people just don't want to be sold, right? They want to be talked to. They want to have a conversation. They don't want to be sold. And so often, probably because there's a lack of coaching, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but there's just not enough coaching and role play, quite honestly, that I see my entire career in the fitness industry. And so my passion is always coaching people up. And really what that means, and you have alluded to it before, Dory, about, listen, many people talk about, yeah, we provide a great experience. Well, what does that really mean though? Well, to me, it's about just asking the right questions. To me, what I've learned the second half of my career, the first half I've been with some of the most prominent big box gyms, and now obviously with some of the most prominent boutique studios, is you have to understand the difference between a powerful question and a regular question. A powerful question, when you meet someone for the first time, whether you're giving them a tour or talking to them on the phone, actually can do a couple of different things. Number one, it could plant a seed in their mind that you can use later. Number two, it could activate the decision-making part of the brain, because let's be honest, making a sale or purchasing something is emotional. It's 95% emotion. And then lastly, a powerful question can overcome an objection before you even hear one. And so really, to me, if we can arm a membership advisor or a general manager or a coach with the ability to build rapport and ask powerful questions, you will make it a lot easier for someone to say yes, to be part of your community and buy a membership.
So you just wrote down, I just wrote down this quote. You just said it. It was absolutely amazing. You said you have to know the difference between a powerful question and a regular question. I absolutely love that. It was brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I've been called worse, but I'll take brilliant from you. And by the way, I've been guilty the first 20 years of my career of asking regular questions. And a regular question, just to clarify, is just you're asking a question that's not really getting you any further in building rapport. You're doing it to fill time until you think about what else you need to say. And so most of the time we live in the future. We don't actually actively listen to a potential member when they're in front of us because we're nervous. And so we're constantly thinking of a question to ask while the customer is talking. And so that's what a regular question is.
And I'd like to just get your thoughts on one last thing before we wrap up here is what I find interesting. And again, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Big box gyms, they spend a lot of money on a sales team and sales training. Isn't it ironic how in the boutique fitness, they don't have a sales team. They don't have a sales department. It's just the gal that's working the front desk, yet somehow they're able to get those members to sign up and commit.
You're exactly right, because what boutique has drawn, what's drawn me to boutique is a couple of things. Number one, technology. Anytime you look at the top trending things in the fitness industry, technology is always like one or two. HIIT training is like in top 5, which is what we do at VoloFit. But so technology, but the look and the feel. And so when we talk about the look and the feel, it's the smell, how the lighting is, where everything is placed. That is what captures the 18 to 45, 47-year-old demographic so well, and why people have been flocking to boutique specifically for those reasons.
Kory, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. So much fun talking about big box gyms, small boutiques. I love it. It's right up my alley.
I'm excited that you had me on. And I know the best part about it was just dreaming about that $7 Starbucks you're probably going to have tomorrow morning.
I'll think of you on my first sip.
Thank you.
So something you said earlier when we were in the midst of our interview that I think I just want to bring to light that I find funny is you talked about social media, and we say how the boutique gyms, most boutique gyms, and we're not saying big box gyms don't do it well, right? We're not saying that. But it's funny because as I do scroll through, I'm a big Insta story person. The boutique cycling studios, they put these dark videos on. You can't even really see who is in the class, but yet somehow because the music's blaring, I'm like fascinated by those. I spend a lot of time watching the dark spin studio videos.
And again, it's because it doesn't need to be professional. And I learned this early, the first month of the pandemic, we were forced, with boutique studios to kind of make sure that owners are savvy on what to put out there. And so, yeah, and it's just any research you look at, you want it to be relatable. And when you're constantly seeing some fitness model with an 8-pack and someone that you're probably never going to achieve what they have achieved, it's not relatable. And so you got to be relatable. And that's probably why it being dark doesn't matter to you. You'll still look to see what's going on there.
Kory, thank you so much for your knowledge exchange with our FBP family. We are so grateful for our amazing industry experts that take the time out of their schedules to make our podcast the #1 fitness business industry podcast in the world. Now, for those of you out there listening, if you would like to learn more about Kory, please head to our show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Or when you subscribe to the best show notes in the podcast world, they will magically be delivered to your email inbox. Subscribe to the show notes also at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. In 30 seconds, I will introduce you to the legendary industry veteran, Doris Thews, who is next week's guest.
Did you know that the active ingredient in most disinfecting wipes has well-documented lung, skin, and reproductive health concerns? That active ingredient is called a quaternary ammonium compound, or a quat, not necessarily something you'd want in a health and wellness facility. VaporFresh disinfecting gym wipes avoid all quats and instead use an innovative citric acid chemistry to disinfect. Even with this greener chemistry, VaporFresh is still EPA registered to disinfect 99.9% of surfaces. VaporFresh is trusted by some of the most premier gyms and college rec centers nationwide. With 1,200 wipes per roll and 4 rolls per case, they offer an unbeatable value per wipe. Order today at vaporfresh.com or Amazon.
Quickfire 5.
Doris Thews is a 36-plus year industry veteran. She's a pioneer, a visionary, a leader, a global educator. She's also the 2019 World Idea Fitness Instructor of the Year. Please welcome Doris Thews. Doris Thews, welcome to the Quickfire 5 questions. Are you ready to begin?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Question number 1. What was a life lesson you learned from the pandemic?
Be flexible.
Short and sweet. Be flexible. I think a lot of people can relate to that. All right. Number 2, if you could play a character in any movie, what character would it be?
Jerry Maguire, my favorite movie of all time. And why is it my favorite movie of all time is here's a man who knows his stuff, who's kicking butt. He's in his dream job, dominating the world. And then he grows a conscious what? And his then all of a sudden turns his world upside down. And then he recognizes what matters. And as he strives and he wins this incredible opportunity, he realizes that it means nothing if he doesn't have the right people around them. And at the end of the day, success means nothing without relationships.
Wow, that's powerful. That was a good pick. Here we go. Please complete this statement. Sunday morning, you can find me
doing a brick. So I'm a triathlete with my husband. My husband's an Ironman. So it's very common for me to either swim or bike or run or bike or paddleboard and run. So I kind of mix it up. I live at the beach.
Very nice. All right. And let's see. How about a book recommendation for our entire FBP family?
Okay, so most people don't know this book, and I read it very early on in life. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And so it teaches you how to, when you're feeling fear, how to take steps to move towards it, to gain confidence, to gain momentum, to create the history in your brain and your heart and your mind, because that's where we make changes in our life is when we fearlessly move forward.
All right. I will. That is one that I actually think I'm going to check out. I like that one. Sounds pretty good. And here we go. Here's your chance to pitch your episode coming up next week to our entire Fitness Business Podcast family.
Well, I mean, I would love to share on how to not just survive the fitness industry, but thrive in this industry. And I have done this keynote presentation several times. But what's interesting is the world is changing. And the thing about COVID is things feel like things are so slow, but things have never moved so fast. So it talks about what really matters in life, to know your priorities, to have a strong reputation, to maintain respect, and more importantly, how to reinvent and how to solve problems, and really connecting with your why and having a fulfilled, balanced life.
All right, Doris, we look forward to you coming back next week for our episode as our industry expert.
Hey, Fitness Business Podcast family, Sarah Pellegrino here, your host of The Value Proposition. Each month, I'm bringing you an insightful conversation with a different supplier so you can learn the value they bring to the industry above and beyond their product or service. Don't miss this month's episode, The Value Proposition for Revolutionizing Digital Signage with Digital Revenue Systems, going live Friday, November 19th. Making more revenue from your existing membership base is an important topic to discuss, and the team at Digital Revenue Systems walks you through exactly how you can do this by investing in digital signage in your facility. Download episode 400 of the Fitness Business Podcast, The Value Proposition for Revolutionizing Digital Signage, anywhere you listen to your podcasts or from our website. You can watch the podcast on our YouTube channel or on our website, fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Doris is sure to bring amazing insight on launching a career in the fitness industry, as well as surviving a fitness career in the industry. So make sure you subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player, or even better yet, let us do the work for you and we'll send you the show. Subscribe at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. You definitely don't want to miss next week's episode. Thank you to our founding partner, Active Management, our partners, Keep Me, My Zone, Discover Strength, Tribe Team Training, and One Fit Stop. Our advertisers, Rex Roundtables, MX Metrics, and Vapor Fresh. We believe what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.